there and welcome to my YouTube channel, Julia McNeil Crafts. So I am starting off this video with a voiceover. I'm not sure what happened when I was recording, but we had a little bit of funky sound going on. It was really distorted, so we're starting this way for a change. So it's take 5, woohoo! And the Lovely Rhie has done our prompts for us this month. So we have blending, reflections, ink and paint, recycled from nature and embossing. So I'm starting off with the blending part and with the paint part. I've used some Dilutions paint here. I've got a teal colour and a white, and I'm literally just doing the blending on the page. I've started with the darker colour in the centre and then gradually adding white on either side and just sort of creating an ombre effect either side of that darker colour. And the reason that I've gone for this style is that I'm looking forward to doing a sort of seascaped theme using my gorgeous new art by Marlene Goodies. So I'm just going to keep going with this. As I said, I just keep adding more and more white and blending that out. So I'm also just quickly showing you there, that's my elements that I'm going to add from nature. The only thing I could find was those dried flowers that I think I must have done as a teenager. I found them in a big book. It's the only thing I could think of. At this point I have no idea how they are going to fit into the page, but I do manage to make it work, as you'll see if you keep watching. When this little bit finishes, we should go back into real time and me speaking as I'm recording. So yeah, we'll see you there.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to do some stamping. One of the prompts is to emboss, and I thought I would do my embossing just by embossing my images. That's not something I do hugely often because my preferred colouring medium when it comes to using my images is alcohol markers, and so I don't tend to emboss. But it is a good way if you're not confident with your colouring. Doing it this way is really good because it creates a natural barrier, especially if you're then going to go in and colour with watercolours, which I think I'm going to do. I'm going to colour with my Distress inks so that we cover the ink prompt as well. So what I've done is I've stamped with my VersaFine Clear because that has a slightly open longer time, and then I'm going to put clear embossing powder over this. Now you can get black embossing powder. I have black embossing powder, but I personally find that I always end up in a pickle. Whereas I find if I stamp with black and use a clear embossing powder, that I get a nice open, that I get a nicer line. I was just checking that it's stuck there because I've already attempted this once using a different ink and it didn't go well for me. But yes, it's stuck this time, so you can see that changing now. And I'm getting a nice crisp embossed line. So as I said, if I'm doing this technique, this is definitely my preferred way of doing it, using a black ink and a clear embossing powder. I probably could do with getting a new VersaFine Clear because mine's getting a bit old now, it's not quite as juicy, but it is an ink that has a longer open time, so it is quite good. Because traditionally we would use like a Versamark or something like that to do our embossing with, but you can emboss with other inks as we've just proven just there. Not sure how much I was waving that in front of the camera, but as I said, you just need to be aware that you need an open time for it. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to continue to stamp, and then when I've got all my bits stamped out, I'll be back. Okay, so I have stamped oodles and oodles out, so we've got all of that and all of this, and I'm just going to start to colour this, but I'm going to use my Distress inks. So I'll do a little bit with you in real time, and then, because I'd imagine this will take me quite a bit of time, I will do the rest on fast forward. I might not even put it all on fast forward because yeah, we'll see how we go. But yeah, I'll do some of it in real time and some of it in fast forward. So this is, I've got Tattered Rose, and I'm going to use that as a base for my skin colour. It's actually quite pale. So I've gone on to a stamping card. I think she would look good with, which I may do. I might put some Nouveau drops on her glasses because I think it would be quite cool. It's got quite a glossy finish anyway, with it being, with having used the embossing, the fact that we've embossed it, it's got quite a glossy finish. I'm actually, that tattered rose is quite pale, so I'm going to put, that's Victorian Velvet. I think I might actually also see if I've got some walnut stain. I think antique linen might be just a bit pale. I'm sorry if you can hear the cat crying. She's just, my stockroom is my loft, so I've been up there because I had a few orders to process, and because she knows I've been up there, she's just literally sitting crying at the loft. So I'm going to do, I think that walnut stain is going to be a bit heavy on its own, so I've taken a little bit and I'm just mixing it with that tattered rose, and I'm going to try and use that as a skin tone colour. The wonderful thing about your skin tone is actually your skin's very, very reflective. So I probably will eventually put some blues and stuff in there as well, just purely if she's part of the sea, she's going to reflect that. Yeah, so the walnut stain's proving to be the better colour. As I say, I don't do this too often, so yeah, I'm not completely sure of my colouring. I'm kind of checking this out as I go, in all honesty. Right, I've got some spice marmalade and some abandoned coral, and let's see what colours we can get in her top. So look at that, yeah, so I'll just do a bit of a brighter colour with you, so you can actually see what's going on in the page. So again, same as if I was colouring with any other medium, I'm still thinking about my shades and tones. So the shadow areas, I'm dropping in that slightly darker colour, and that's just going to lift it slightly. Let's give her bow the similar. So I'm just putting a base colour on first, and as I said, you don't have to be overly careful because we've stamped and embossed. There is a natural barrier, so it's not going to run past that embossed line anyway. So if you are a bit nervous about, you know, colouring, especially like with your watercolours and stuff like that, this is a really good way of doing it, because you're not going to go over the lines, because the water's not going to go any further than the emboss line. I'm really liking those two colours together. So that's Spice Marmalade and Abandoned Coral. They're working really, really well together. I like that. So I think these might, and I think the yellows and the reds are going to contrast really nicely to the blues and greens of the sea. So yeah, I'm going to try, let's pop this coral on her tail, and then we'll get a darker colour again to do the shadow areas of that. Actually, I'm not liking that as much now. Let's get that, I'm going to bring the yellow in again. So that was Spice Marmalade. Woo! And now I've just thrown orange right over this one here, so yeah, that wasn't intentional, but we'll see how we go. Yeah, there we go. I'm just going to pop that in there, so we're still getting the different colour tones. So let's pop that in here. I'm going to be cutting these out as well, so we've got room for manoeuvre. Right. So I might just pop some of this. So we've got the abandoned coral. I'm just going to bring some of that into her cheeks. Just get a bit of water. So that looked a bit scary when we first put it on, but never, remember when you're using any form of watercolour mediums, it's really easy to correct, and that's basically what we're doing here. Your distress inks are water based, so they'll work. It's just the format is that they're in a felt pad because they're in an ink pad, but you take them out of that format and then they work the same as watercolours. So if you end up going a bit heavy handed, a bit of water, and if you're really not sure, you add a bit of water and then you can just lift it with your rag, and you'll end up with the right sort of, it'll go back to like a white, so you even it all up again. So yeah, I think that's that. I'm going to sort of keep, let's see if we can rescue this girl that's had orange thrown at her. I'm sure we'll manage. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing the same as what I've just done, but we'll pop you on fast forward so that this video doesn't end up 6 hours long. So that might be a tad boring. pieces. And as I said, my idea is to make some sort of scape that is going to be reflected at the bottom, but we're not going to have quite as much at the bottom as we do at the top. That's my sort of plan anyway. So I'm just going to glue some of these sort of C parts down, she says. There we go, let's get the glue now. I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue in the centre, but not go to the edges, because I want to be able to sort of tuck bits and pieces as I go. I can give it a bit slightly better adhesion as I work out what on earth I'm doing. So right now I don't actually know. So we're just going with the flow a little bit and seeing what occurs. Right, so I'm going to pop this down. Okay, and then I think we'll have our gorgeous mermaid. For the way her face is coloured, so we're going to see more of her. So let's pop her about there. As I say, and I'm just building up my scene, and then gradually, as I know exactly where something's going to go, I will add it in. Okay, so we've got her there. So it's not going to be a perfect reflection, because obviously just the way the stamp, I mean there's lots of fancy techniques you can do, like mirror stamping and stuff like that, but I'm just not really feeling that right now. It's not really what I want to be doing. So I'm kind of just going to do it a little bit like that. So we'll pop that there. Should be getting her head chopped off. That's okay, because I can use her head. I can use her head in something else. So I'm going to pop that as I kind of want the paintbrushes matching. So we'll get that there. Chop her head off. That just sounds so cruel, doesn't it? I feel like it's like, off with her head. Right, let me just chop that. I'm working at a very strange angle. I'm really going to have to wrestle with my camera afterwards. Look, oh look, she's headless. But you know, that can be used on something else. It's all good. Right, let's get a lot more glue on here because it's feeling to want to stick down properly. Been a little bit too economical with the old glue. Right, let's get that stuck down, and then as I said, once we'll get a few more waves on there and get it working. There we go. So it's kind of a reflection. I might do something with the paint. We can maybe paint over that bit a little bit so that it's a bit more, what's the word? A bit more like got a blue hue over it, so it looks more like a reflection. So I've got those. Now I've also got my little flowers. So these are kind of going to need to be put in. So I'm not quite sure. Oh, I suppose it's a bit seaweedy, isn't it? So I could put that like there. It kind of works. It's the colour's a bit dark, but maybe if we put paint or something over it, I'll maybe go over it with gel medium as well. But just so that it's stuck in there a little bit. See, I might go over that with a bit of paint, or just create a bit of scenery. It's just, that's more, I wouldn't normally put that in, but you know, I'm needing to fit with the prompts, and it's all I could think of for recycled from nature. And it was literally all I had. I have no idea how old these are. I used to do this sort of thing as a young teenager, so you know, we're talking probably a good 30 odd years old. So there we go. I suppose it's good that it's getting used in some artwork. Very delicate though. But as I said, we'll pop gel medium over that a little bit. Right, and I've switched my waves round now so that they're going in the opposite direction so I'm just going to chop that bit of the tail. There we go. So just so that it's a bit neater. It kind of works. I'll get that stuck down. I have no idea what my daughter's doing, but there's some strange noises coming from the coming from the living room. Right, I've got these funky lighthouses. No, I don't think I want that. Should we have her painting a rainbow? I don't know. I've got my clouds. Definitely want clouds because, you know, well, it's me. I do love my clouds. And we could actually put, how many of those did I stamp? I'm pretty sure I stamped 3. Where's the other one gone? I'm sure I would have stamped 3. I'm sure I've got a third somewhere. But instead, as soon as I've got, these are the ones I can find just now, so we'll go with that. Maybe just put one, if I put one big one. Okay, and then we'll have one over here. Like so. And then, I don't know if I want a rainbow. Oh yeah, maybe behind the... What do we think? No, actually, I'm okay without the rainbow, I think. Right. So we've got a few more swirls. Right, I'm liking this, but I'm not loving it. So I'm just going to finish. I need to blend those leaves in a bit more so they look like they belong. I had a feeling this would happen. The colour tones and everything just really doesn't match the rest of the project. But this is really what I wanted to play with, and yeah, that's kind of... I was wanting to play with these, and so that's what I did. Right, and pop that there. And I'm going to get all of this stuck down just a little bit better, and then we'll maybe come back in with some more paints and things, just to brighten this up. Brighten those leaves up and do a bit more, yeah, make this look a bit better. So, and do that. There we go. We're getting there. Getting there. Right. Right. There we go. I'm just going to, let's grab this and just neaten up this side. Oops. It's not stuck down properly. I can feel it slide as I'm cutting. There we go. It's getting there. We have a start of a sort of a something. So that's fine. I always find with most of my projects I sort of hit a midway point where I'm like, oh, I don't know, and I think I'm probably there with this. I'm just going to re-stick that down because it moved as I was trying to cut the bit. Okay. There we go. I think we'll have a few more clouds, because I do love cloud. Right. Okay. So I've got that there, like so. I need loads more glue on this. I think I've chosen quite a, because I was wanting to watercolour on it, I've got like good stamping cards, so it really is quite substantial. So getting that to sort of stick on this is just taking a little moment. Right, I'm going to grab some clear gesso just to put over these leaves, and also to put over the bottom half of this, because I think I'm going to want to put a wash of paint over, but obviously I used water soluble products, I used the Distress inks, so there will be a bit of movement of the colour if I start to try and put something on top of it. So I'm putting going quite canny over these leaves. That's just going to allow me to add some paint on it and just keep them safe under there so they don't get too damaged when we whatever we do next. I'm not quite sure what, but whatever we do, at least it's a nice prepped surface. And then I'm just, again, just going to take it a bit slow over these little bits. I don't want to drag out the colour too much, but I do want to protect it just a little bit. So we'll get that. See, I can already see a little bit of orange has come off and is going into that clear gesso, and that's kind of, there's always going to be an element of movement because we've put something wet over it. So it is going to colour slightly, but hopefully once that's dry, that's just going to prevent that happening too much. So it is a good way of sealing your work, and it'll just give us a nice even surface to work on. We just add a bit of clear gesso onto that. I probably should have maybe used gel medium to stick some of these elements down. Okay, so I'm going to just let that dry, and I'm just going to re-stick some of these little bits, and then we will come back. So I've given it a quick waft. It's not completely dry. What I'm going to do is just pop some white paint along the bottom here. Oops. I don't want it quite that opaque, but there we go. So we'll just, so we've got the reflection there. What I might just do now is go over that again with a little bit of water and lift some of it, because I wanted to knock it back, because as I said, the reflection is always paler than the real thing anyway, so I think that sort of works. So obviously this is acrylic paint and not watercolour, so it's going to be slightly harder to lift, but it's still quite wet, so we'll see how we go on. So just, yeah, we've lifted that a little bit, but we've just made it look a bit more like a reflection. I'm going to keep going back and forth now until I get this just how I like it. There we go. So we'll just, yeah, like that. So there we go. As I said, it's a nod to a reflection. What might be quite good is if I just get a tiny bit of blue. Let's actually get it from, because I don't want it too heavy, if I get it from this, so this was some of the Distress inks, so if I get some of that and then we'll just sort of create almost like some ripples. So this is me sort of mixing acrylic and Distress together, so they're not going to play overly nicely because they're not designed to work together, but hopefully we can get some sort of something working, and it means we're using up some. And what I might do is come along with some souffle as well with that. Right, I'm also going to get a little bit of some more Dilutions paints, and I'm just going to put a little amount over these leaves, because I just think the colour tone that we've got is not great for the project, but it's added a nice bit of texture, and they were just rotting away in an old book from forever ago. So even though I don't think they had natural beauty, to be honest. Brown isn't really my colour, so I prefer them a bit more funky. And actually I might just do some stippling with this colour as well. Seeing as it's in my hand, it's just like, oh well, we'll do that then. It's the sum total of the thought that went into it. It's like, oh, it's there, let's go for it. There we go. It's just adding a bit of texture, a bit of something. There we go. Right, and then I'm going to just brighten that up again with a tiny bit of yellow. I'm going to get a different brush. There we go. There we go. There we go. something a bit on there. So we've got some different colours going on there. Oh, I'm just going to pause the camera. Husband and daughter were unhappy with each other for a moment and they were getting more and more vocal, so just stopped the camera. I was like, do you realise that you guys are being heard on the camera? Behave yourselves. Right, so I've decided I want this lighthouse here after all. I'm going to pop that there. And I'm going to, this cloud has managed to get some sort of sticky on it, so I'm going to just, I shouldn't really do this on my blending mat, but I will go and clean it straight away. Do not use acrylic paints on your blending mat. It's for water-based products only. I'm just going to actually stipple over this, because I don't know what's happened, but it's ended up with bits of stickiness on it, and it's just, it's bothering me, and also I'm just a bit concerned about what it'll do. So I'm going to stipple some clouds in. I'm still not overly happy with how these leaves are looking, but we will just, if you're not happy, it's not the end, and that's the thing to remember. You've not ruined it, you just keep going till you are happy. So I'm going to get a bit more paint, and let's just kind of emphasise this cloud effect. And we can have it going over. Plus I've had to cut out some white space around there, so it ties that in. Makes it look a bit more natural. I'm liking the stippled effect. I think I'm going to maybe have to draw onto those leaves a little bit. So we'll see. There we go. It's getting there. We're getting something. That's a bit random, but I think we've done everything though. We've got the blending, we've got the paint. Oh, I should probably double check because I think paint and ink was together in one prompt. So what was it? Blending, paint and ink, reflections. Yeah, I'm going to have to go and check. And I think my daughter's taking my phone, so yeah, I'll just keep going with this where I am at the second. And actually, I'll go and get it and allow this to dry. I'll be back in a moment. So I have checked my phone. My daughter's commandeered it again. This is the thing, she's not really, I don't really think she's old enough to have her own phone, but with current restrictions, it's like the only way she can see her friends is through, like, you know, WhatsApp calls or FaceTime calls or bits and bobs like that. So I double checked, we do actually have everything, so that's good. So it was paints and ink, which we've used, blending, which we've done in the background, embossing, which we did with an element of nature, which we've got there, and the reflections. So we do have all the bits in it that we need. So now it's just a case of fiddling around until we are happy with how things look. So I'm just going to grab a pen. I think this is my new one. And I'm just going to put some polka dots on these. Put an element of nature in there and then completely disguised it. But yeah, it probably wasn't the easiest thing to do with the style that I chose. So that's my own fault. But it was, as I said, new toys, desperate to play with the new toys. That's kind of what it boils down to. So I'm sort of turning these into funky trees. As I said, what it has done is it's given a really nice element of texture on my page that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't used an actual real leaf. It does seem a little bit of a crime to paint over it and draw over it, but there you go. It is what it is, and I like it better now. I think it suits the page better. So I am just going to edge this, get my black pen and edge it, and then I will probably get my Jane Davenport pen out as well and just give that a little doodle edge around. There we go. I like the fact it's ended up next to another Take 5 page that I did. It's like chalk and cheese though, isn't it? It's like they're so contrasting in styles. Yeah, they sort of work okay together. So I think that's another thing as well. It's like quite often, you know,
sometimes I work on a double page spread, but very rarely, to be honest. But it just shows that you can have two contrasting styles together and it works. But on this page I've like framed it so the eye's drawn into that page, and now I'm going to do the exact same here. So we'll create its own little frame, and it's not going to matter so much that we've got, you know, two very different styles next to each other. I just think it adds to the quirkiness. That's what a journal's meant to be anyway. A journal's not meant to be perfect. I mean, I think because social media is full of these most amazing, colourful journal pages, we maybe have this expectation that every page in our journal should look amazing. But if we think about where art journals started, it was a practice. It was where you practiced. Like I know with my daughters, when we were doing the homeschooling, obviously they're back at school now. Although it's funny, my videos are quite behind themselves, so I was editing one that's going to go up this week and I'm talking about homeschooling in it, but I'm presuming everyone will realise that that's that was recorded a few weeks ago. But yes, she was struggling to do this art project and she was getting really upset, and then of course because mummy's an artist, it's like we've got this sort of level of expectation, I think within her anyway. So it's like I pulled out my sketch pad and showed her, I was like, look, more of this, more of my sketch pad is scribbled out. I've got more mistakes and dodgy drawings in here than I do good ones. But you just have to keep going and keep practicing. And that's the thing with the journals. Journals are a place to practice your techniques, to try something new. It's not a place for perfection. And so never be afraid just to play. And it doesn't matter that those things contrast. That was a fantastic page for me. I had never done anything with a time constraint and I attempted to put a page together in 10 minutes. So it was also, you know, it's associated with memories from doing the take 5 and things like that. So that page has taught me loads. In fact, it doesn't match this one. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. So yeah, as I said, I think just because of the fact that art journaling has become, it is an art in itself, but if you think about what a journal should be, a journal shouldn't be perfect. It's a place to practice. So never be afraid to mix it up and to give it a go. I mean, in your journal, that's the place to give it a go and have a try, see what happens. I'm just going to splatter some black over this because I just think it's needing a bit of something just to, a lot of sort of space. I'm going to try and turn my journal as well, because this is, I do feel that if you kind of splatter, all the splatters can go the same way, so I kind of like to change the direction. Strangely enough, it actually looks more random doing this than just sort of, it looks less random, it looks more deliberate when you've only done it in one direction because they're all going like this. Whereas to me it looks like a more unique random splatter. Right, so let's take this off and then we can have a look at our finished page. So there we go, that is my take 5. Now, I could do with a few more splatters just in there, so I'm just, sometimes this happens when you are protecting bits of your work. You find elements of it, you kind of think that that bit looks like it should have a splatter, but it was maybe just a bit overprotected. So feel free to move your bits of paper around and give it another go. There we go. I've ended up putting some on that page now as well. That wasn't intentional, but you know, I can live with black splatter being on that page too. Okay, so there we go. I'm going to just clean my desk ever so slightly. I think you'll get the idea. Anyway, the most amazing thing about Take 5 is that everybody gets to join in. It's for everybody. So if you do fancy giving the prompts a try, then you'll find them in the description box below. And if you use the hashtag Take5Art, then you will we'll find you, and Kyra will put you on a playlist. I've just realised I wanted to put glossy accents on her, so I will just do that now, and then I'll sort of probably come back and finish my ramblings on. But yeah, basically what I was saying was just do join us. Please do check out what all the girls have done. I always think it's amazing how you can get 12 people with the same prompts and, you know, everything looks very, very different. So this is translucent, if I manage to clog this up. Oh, it's coming, it's coming, it's thinking about it. I think I've just got the gunky bit, and then hopefully once that gunky bit comes out we'll be good to go. She says. So I'm just going to squeeze that out and pop that over her eyes there till we get her glasses, and then I'll come back and show you that once I've done that and it's all dry. Okay, so that's my page all finished, and her little accents on her glasses have dried. So thank you so much for joining me. Please do check out what all the other lovely ladies have done. If you have enjoyed it here, please do consider liking and subscribing, and I'll be back with you very soon. Okay, take care then, and goodbye.